Welcome back to why do I mess that up every time? Welcome back to the Sports Lab podcast with me and co-host Thomas Bailey. We have a lot to get into, a lot of NFL, some college football, World Series, NHL, the NBA season starting. I mean, this is just when all the sports collide. And as a fan of many sports, I love this time of year. It's one of my favorites because there's just everything, especially when all my favorite teams are playing. So it's great, even though sometimes they're quite depressing. It's favors. Yeah, but we'll start off with how we normally do with the NFL. That's where we'll probably spend the majority of the episode is talking NFL because that is one of her biggest sports. Yeah, so we're gonna start off. Well, let's start off with the breaking news. Alvin Kamara signing a 2-year, $24.5 million extension with the Saints. Thomas, what are your thoughts on that?
I like the move for New Orleans. I feel like I feel like there's only one of two options for them. It was either to move on from him or to commit to him for a couple more seasons and push some of the money back for next year. They're going to be a lot over the cap and everything like that. So they're going to have to be able to push some of this money back by signing him for a couple extra years, similar to a couple moves we've seen the Bills make in years past, obviously, just continuously move the money back more, keep the money flowing right. I feel like that's exactly what they have to do. And being almost, I think, what is it, like $75 million above the cap next year?
I think it was 80 when I saw something earlier that said 80.
It's pretty bad. So realistically, to see that happen, it's going to be a very difficult transition for them. It's going to be a lot of things that are going to have to go right if they want to get out of that hole. And I feel like this could be a time that they're finally going to have to start rebuilding and finally commit to one. They feel like the St. Louis Blues, where they're just like, okay, we got this. And then this perennial team that's just right there in the middle until the season ends and then they're done. And so I feel like that's where the Saints are at right now. They got to really figure out some of these things. These kinks obviously lost the Broncos this week, 33-3. So I do like the addition of, like, not the addition, but the extension for Alvin Kamara. I think it's the right move for them.
Yeah, I agree. Personally, I would have went in the route of just blowing it up next year. You're so much over the cap, and you've been that much over the cap for the last 4 years because you keep pushing money over, but you're not a good enough team. Like if you're a perennial playoff championship contender, then it makes sense. But to really ruin your future, to continuously be, well, right now they're just bad, but bad/mid doesn't really make a lot of sense. But if they want to continue to be like this, then it does make sense to sign Alvin Kamara because, as you said, his cap hit next year is $29 million. Now the next 2 years after that, it's 2 years, 24. They probably moved 10 to 15 mil of that cap hit next year over to spread out over those 2 years. So that now they're probably looking at more like 65, 70 mil over the cap, which is still a lot, but there's a lot of other cuts and restructures and movement they can do with other players' contracts. So I think they'll find a way to get out of it just like they have every other year. But they're just continuously kicking the can down the road. Eventually they're gonna have to pay the price. Might as well do it now while your team isn't good instead of having to deal with it maybe in a couple years when your team's on the up and now you're so screwed with cap you can't improve your team. So I think I would just blow it up completely. I would legit probably think about trading everyone. Like maybe keep Fuaga and Olave, and that's really about it. I'd think of trade every.
I would try to trade Chase Young at the deadline this year. Like I
trade
think
every
single player, right?
Yeah, trade every single player on the team that has any value at all is what I would do, except for maybe Olave and Fuaga, because obviously you're going to need a franchise quarterback, and you want to give him a wide receiver one and a left tackle, very important pieces. So I'd maybe keep those two.
Side, obviously, these two guys are both been hampered with injuries, but I think Paulson Adebo as well has to stay, and same with Alontae Taylor. Those are two fundamental guys.
Adebo's a free agent after this year.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is I feel like now that he's injured, I don't think they get any value out of him because no team's going to trade for a guy who's not going to come back until maybe the playoffs, if that.
Oh, I didn't know he was that injured. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you keep him, but you probably let him.
I believe it's Paulson Adebo, the one that messed up his femur or whatever, like broke it.
That sounds right. So he's probably out for the year, but then you're just going to have to let him walk just because you're not going to be able to afford it.
Yeah, exactly.
But moving on, let's get into our game of the week. The Bills destroying the Tennessee Titans. Well, more so in the second half. So the Bills won 34-10. Josh Allen with a spectacular stat line, over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. Should have been 3 if it wasn't for a BS overturned call. Amari Cooper played great in his limited time. Keon Coleman had a great game. Shakir had a good game. The defense really stepped up. Players like Dwayne Carter, Terrell Bernard, and Teron Johnson continuing to play well. So what are your thoughts on the game?
I mean, at first, I think I can speak for every Bills fan in America that I was terrified. I was terrified that Mason Rudolph was going to come in and he was going to win this game. It looked pretty skeptical at first. Obviously, we were in a little bit of a funk to start the game. Cooper had that third down drop, bounced back pretty nicely, in my opinion. At the same time, you got to give him a little bit of slack. But you got to cut him a little slack. I mean, he's been with the team for, 4 days heading into that Sunday. So realistically, not too much time to prepare. The fact that he was even out there in the Bills uniform trying to make catches, things like that, is beyond phenomenal. And then including the touchdown, obviously Coleman pointing out like what the route was, whatever. I do think that it was very fun to watch in the second half. And if this game didn't prove to you that the Bills are a second half team, I don't know what will. This is just a team that plays so much better in the second half compared to the first. It's almost like we just all week long. I feel like it's like a test, bro. I feel like it's like a test in class and stuff. You just don't study for the test. You keep constantly putting it off all week. And then finally it's time for the test. And at the beginning of the test, you're like, oh, crap, I have no idea what any of this is. But slowly, as you keep going through the questions, you start to find your way through them. And I feel like that's what the Buffalo Bills are doing right now. It was a very sketchy start, but to see Allen kind of bounce back in that second half, still no turnovers on the season. Obviously, it's been a phenomenal game in that regard. Didn't like to see what Mason Rudolph was doing, though. He almost looked like a Madden quarterback on all Madden in this game, just the dink and dunks, hitting easy passes, and it was killing us. It was actually just so unfortunate to watch with this Bills defense. You had so many things in this game that really annoyed me, and the only thing I'm going to talk about on the pessimistic side, Dorian Williams and Terrell Bernard, I don't know what the hell you were taught in high school, college, whatever, but to stand 3 to 4 yards off the guy who's wide open and then try to intercept it at the last second is not the way you play defense in the NFL. That one touchdown they got in the end zone, Bernard was literally right beside the guy. If he would have just stood in front of him, Rudolph would have had to run, and he wouldn't have got there because I think it was Epinesa had the angle already and was going to push him out of bounds. He wouldn't have been able to find him in the end zone for a touchdown. But no, instead of doing that, you just stand a little bit off to the side and hope to dive in front for an interception, and it cost you 6 points. That's not what you should be doing, because I'm telling you right now, if they keep making those mistakes, we're playing the Chiefs soon. We still have big, important games on the schedule. Do that against Patrick Mahomes. He's taking that all day. And that's the thing is I understand we won this game. We blew them out. But for the weeks, like the next few weeks, we need to clean that stuff up to make sure that we're ready for playoff football when it gets there.
Yeah. So yeah, basically everything you said. I guess the one thing I want to be, if I'm going to be pessimistic on, is going to be Joe Brady. Do you genuinely know what play action is? You've watched football before, so you know what it means. Play action, right? I'm assuming I could walk to any man on the street that's ever played a snap of football, ever watched a football game in their life. I'm going to ask them what play action is. They're probably going to be able to tell me what it means. Except for Joe Brady. He does not know what play action is, apparently. I don't get it.
No.
We have a very good run game. We have a very good offensive line. We have a very good quarterback. Those are the recipes for a dominant play action attack. And he just doesn't run it. I remember probably after like drive 3, every single drive on first down, I yelled play action because I wanted us to run it. The one time we finally ran it was, I think it was in maybe our first drive in the second half. We got like a 10-yard completion. We got a first down. It was maybe like a 12-yard stop to Coleman for a first down. Then the next play, it was first down again. Ran it right up the gut for nothing. It's like, are you stupid? Clearly, Tennessee's strength is their defensive line because Jeffrey Simmons is that dog. They're very good at stopping the run. So what you do, I understand. Yeah, I understand at the beginning of the game why running the ball. You want to be balanced with your offense. You want to set things up. But then after a while, after it's not working, that's when you go to a play action. You hit them over the top, and it's like Joe Brady doesn't know what that is. I don't get it. Where are these where are these first and 10 or like a second and short would also, like if we get a big play in first down, like a 2nd and 3 or less is the perfect time for a play action deep shot because everyone's thinking run, especially with how much you run the ball, and then boom, right over the top. And I haven't seen that yet this year, and it's extremely, extremely frustrating. Come on. If we're starting, because Josh Allen is maybe the best play action quarterback in the league. He is so good at it.
Just for the simple fact that he can offer the run as well.
Exactly.
If nobody's open on those, like on any of the throws, he can just take it and pull it down and run.
Yeah, so it keeps the linebackers up and the safeties back because of how big of
Keeps
his
him honest.
yeah.
Keeps him
So
honest.
especially on play action, the linebackers stay up, then the safeties are deep because Josh Allen has such a big arm. The middle of the field in between the safeties and linebackers is wide open. I don't understand why we do not attack it. Play action. I understand
I understand you're upset about
you have
this,
to set
but
things
it's
up with
not
the
going
run.
to change now. It's
I
definitely not.
know it's not. I know it's not going to change, and I'm going to continue to bitch and complain about it because it's something. It would take our offense to the next level. And while offense played good, if we play in the first half, if we play like we did in the first half against the Titans, in the first half against like the Chiefs or the Lions, or in the playoffs against like the Ravens or the Texans, we're not beating them. We're just good teams. You can't start out that
We've
slow.
seen it 3 straight weeks now, other than the exception of the first drive against the Jets, I guess, on Monday night. The Texans game did nothing in the first half. The game against the Jets, the first drive touchdown, which was pretty cool because you know what we did? We ran the ball for once. No one was expecting us to run the ball that entire drive, and we did, and we scored a touchdown. After that, we couldn't do anything against the Jets in the first half. And then the final game, which was last week against the Jets, this weekend against the Titans, we did nothing in the first half again.
We had 20 points in the first half against the Jets.
Did we?
Yeah. It was the second half. I get but Ravens, Texans, and Titans are all examples.
We got to put it together, though.
Yes.
We have to play a full 60 minutes, and I understand what you're saying. We have to play a full 60 minutes to beat any of those teams you just mentioned.
I completely agree. And offensively and defensively, my biggest gripe was just with the lack of play action. Just because when we do run it, as few times as it is, it's extremely successful. Well, I don't understand why we don't run it in the Jets game. The first play of the second half, we ran play action, and Josh hit Curtis Samuel for like a 35-yard pass. He was wide open because play action. It's bringing the defense up, and then boom, Josh goes over top, and it's just extremely frustrating to watch the lack of play. Because last year we ran a lot of play action with Joe Brady, and Josh was killing it on play action. Had some of the best numbers in the league.
Run to end the season,
and then he just stopped calling play action. I don't get it. Like, my thing is, if Joe Brady could design the plays and then someone else could call them, our offense, because I think Joe Brady's a great play designer. I like the plays he dials up. He's just really bad at when to call certain plays. He just calls them. He's way too predictable when he's going to call. Yeah, his timing's really bad. Hopefully, it's something he can work on throughout the year.
Now we go play action.
Exactly. I'm hoping it's something we can work on throughout the year, and then maybe it's something he can get better on by playoff time as he gets more used to it, learns from his mistakes. Because he's a great play designer. I really like the play design and the style of offense we have with trying to set up the run and a lot of short passes to work our way down the field because everyone's taking away the deep ball from Josh because it's Josh.
I know how much is on Joe Brady, how much is on McDermott, because I saw like a report a couple weeks ago. We had a couple different second down and ones against the Jets on Monday night, especially in the second half when we were winning or whatever. And we just kept, instead of going for a play action on the second one and worst possible outcome, Allen has to throw it away and it's 3rd down and 1.
McDermott's a defensive guy.
I try to run the ball.
I just don't think it's much of McDermott because McDermott's more hands-on with the defense and the offense. I think it's more of a Joe Brady thing. I truly believe that. But moving on, we went a while on the Bills. We'll move on to a very, very good game. The Packers defeating the Texans 24-20. CJ Stroud had a really good game, Jordan Love had a really good game besides a couple of dumb turnovers. CJ Stroud did not. Really, the only saving grace in that offense was Joe Mixon, as the Packers, despite a couple turnovers, kind of dominated, even though they only won by 2. What are your thoughts?
I liked this game a lot. I felt like this was one of those games where it really could have went either way. It was interesting to see because I had no idea of this, but Brandon McManus is on the Green Bay Packers. I had no idea of that until obviously right at the end of the game when he was warming up for a potential game winner. I do think that this is one of the best games of the week. I think the best game of the week was the Lions-Vikings. We'll get to that eventually, but I think that was, like, above all, I think this was a very good game still, though. this was a game I expected Green Bay to come out and play their best football, and they definitely did. CJ Stroud hasn't really looked the same as last year. I know a lot of people have said, like, I'm just biased, I'm a Bills fan, this, that, and the third. He really has not impressed me as much as he did last season. He has not had those big performances or those games where he absolutely has to have it, and he does everything needed to get it done. It hasn't been like fully his fault, I guess. The offensive line kind of left him out to dry these last couple of weeks. And then on top of that, Nico Collins has been dealing with a hamstring. He's on IR, so you don't have as many weapons. But at the same time, you really have to win this football game. You really do. I understand this is a very, very good Green Bay Packers team fighting for a division spot right now with like the best division in football right now. But at the same time, you're one of the perennial contenders in the AFC, at least what everyone expects to be here coming up. And this is a game where you could really prove yourself to the world and say, hey, it does not matter who we go against. We can win. We can put together a full 4 quarters. And I just felt like that third quarter really did them in. And I'm excited to see what Houston does these next couple weeks to maybe bounce back. But really great performance by Green Bay. They overcame the adversity. They really started to pick it up in the second half. They had a couple touchdowns back to back. And really, you could see the momentum shift in this football game. And I feel like in the really big games, you can always tell when the momentum starts to shift. And this is one of those games where I felt that happen. And then, of course, the Brandon McManus walk-off field goal. This game could not have really ended any better than it did. Perfect little chef's kiss at the end with the field goal. So happy to see the Packers get the job done. Obviously, being a Bills fan, that helps us out a little bit. So good to see that. And for Houston, good effort, but you got to keep it going.
Yeah, shout out to Evan Williams, the 4th-round pick out of Oregon by Green Bay. That safety duo right now is absolutely cooking. Xavier McKinney and Evan Williams have been.
He had that sack in this game, and Stroud didn't even expect it at all.
They've been lights out. Jaire Alexander, that secondary has really been cooking. That defense overall has been looking really, really good so far. And to pair with the explosive offense we know that we have, and it's kind of funny how Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre and then became like the opposite of Brett Favre. And then Jordan Love sat behind Aaron Rodgers and then became the opposite of Aaron Rodgers, more like Brett Favre. It went from gunslinger to like super efficient, more conservative. Obviously, Rodgers is still elite, to back to gunslinger again, because that's what Jordan Love is. He is just a pure. Yeah. He will chuck it anywhere. And will he have a couple of boneheaded throws, boneheaded decisions? It's like, what are you doing? Are you stupid? He'll also make some throws like that one. I think it was the touchdown to Tucker Kraft that basically went through the Texans player's hand. It was like you couldn't have put that ball any better. It's like he'll have throws like that and plays like that. It's like, wow, this dude is insane. So the turnovers, he definitely has to cut down on that because, I mean,
he looks like the 2019 Josh Allen.
I understand as a Bills fan saying that's kind of a little hypocritical because of Josh Allen, but you see in the playoffs, he turns down those turnovers and he plays much, much better. Can Jordan Love kind of turn down those turnovers in the playoffs? And like last year where he did, he cost the Packers the game with that dumb interception against the Niners.
On second down, too, I still remember that play, bro. Why are you throwing it into triple coverage across your body on second down? Throw it away and play for the next 2 downs.
Well, this year, will he be able to not turn the ball over as much and make these big plays more efficiently coming down the stretch in the playoffs? Because this NFC is looking really good. And their division alone has the Lions and the Vikings, who are looking like they might be the 2 best teams in football. So it's not going to be an easy path. So Jordan Love's playing pretty good, but he can definitely be playing a lot better if he slows down on some of those stupid turnovers.
Yeah, most definitely.
The next game we have was the early morning London game. The Jaguars dismantled the Patriots, while Drake May did look pretty good, though. What are your thoughts, Thomas?
I really like this game from Drake May. He showed a lot of poise in the pocket. He was making plays with his legs a lot more than we used to see him in college. He was actually starting to get up and run. He kind of had to in this game, if I'm being honest. But despite that, the Jacksonville Jaguars came out and they played a great game. Parker Washington with a kick return touchdown, obviously, in this one. So that's awesome for them as well. They put on a clinic. This was a do-or-die game for everybody that watches football. They knew it, that this was a do-or-die game for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And they came out and proved exactly what they can do. Trevor Lawrence had a very solid outing as well. I really liked what they kind of did with Tank Bigsby, too. He looked phenomenal in this game as well. So realistically, if they can keep working off that and just kind of use Lawrence when he has to be used, versus just, being forced to throw the ball so many times in a game. Really just let him go through his progressions, take what he could, and basically do what he did in Clemson, where he didn't have to be the all-world beater that won them all these football games. He could just go through his progressions, and it all starts up front with the offensive line. They have to figure out that offensive line by the end of the season if they want to make the turnaround. I do think that this is almost it was one of the more, I guess, meaningless games of the week, I guess, in that situation. I thought the Jags would win by 7. 24-17 was my score prediction, but they obviously the touchdown did help their case to score a little bit more points on the kick return. So I do think this was a lot closer of a game than people look at the stats and see. But I think that the Jacksonville Jaguars put together a solid outing. And for New England, man, they just got dismantled again. It's another week where they just really couldn't figure it out. And on special teams this time. So to see it just kind of hurt them in all three phases, it's tough to watch for New England. The cool news for New England is they're probably going to get the number 1 overall pick, or at least the top 3 selection at this point. So congratulations to them on whoever they end up getting, but go Bills, because the Patriots are always going to suck.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on it. Drake May has looked absolutely electric through these 2 games. I mean, everyone was clamoring, Jaden Daniels was definitely better than Drake May. The Commanders made the right decision. I mean, Drake May has looked really good these last 2 weeks. And then Jaden Daniels, Marcus Mariota came in and put up just as good as numbers as him. So the jury's still out on that. I may still be right by saying Drake May is QB2
I'm not going to lie
overall.
to you. If Drake May got drafted to the Commanders instead, and Drake May was in the same spot as Jaden Daniels has been, I feel like the Commanders would be the same exact record they are now, if not even better.
Yeah, I know Drake May has been killing it behind probably I would say the worst offensive collection in the league. I mean, where's bottom 3 offensive line, bottom 3 receiving core. He's just kind of out there running for his life.
Kind of made Hunter Henry look better than he is too.
Yeah. And then on the Jaguars side, Brian Thomas Jr. is a star. I still wish Brandon Beane would have traded up to get him. I'm not mad with what we got out of this draft. Like, Beane has done a great job. I think their rookies have played well, but I still would rather have had Brian Thomas Jr. because he is 6th in the NFL in receiving yards right now as a rookie. And that's with Trevor Lawrence throwing the ball, which Trevor Lawrence is good. I still think he's good, but he ain't no Josh Allen. He would absolutely be cooking right now with Josh. He has been absolutely electric. That speed really opens up that offense. He has been so good. And for the Jags, I guess all this win does is delay the inevitable Doug Peterson and Press Taylor fire. They are playing the Packers next week, so I expect them to probably be fired on Monday.
Yeah, there's a good chance. I do think for the Brian Thomas point, though, I get he's 6th in the NFL in receiving yards, but Trevor Lawrence, I believe, at least last time I checked, was like 6th in the league in throws per game, like average throws this season in per game. Josh Allen's near the bottom of the list. We have not thrown the ball as much as we have in years past. I understand that's due to the mediocre.
But then you also look at like EPA and stuff like that. Brian Thomas Jr. I like Keon. Brian Thomas Jr. is much better than Keon Coleman.
Yeah,
Brian
the better
Thomas
route
Jr.
runner by far. He's got the faster speed. If you had to give me one guy on one-on-one, that's Keon Coleman. And that's exactly what it is, though. Did
you see that catch Brian Thomas had on Christian Gonzalez, that 60-yard bomb?
Yeah,
where he fought through. Christian Gonzalez played that perfectly, where he hit it out at the right time, and he fought through that and still caught that. So I don't know. I'd say
Brian Thomas is a stud, though. I can't lie.
Thomas Jr. is I think will be a top 5 to 10 receiver in the league in his prime. Keon, I don't see him being anywhere close to that. I think he's going to be good, but nowhere close to that. Moving on to our next game. Eagles destroy the Giants. Saquon's a baller. The Giants are pathetic. Not really much to say about this game.
Saquon Barkley, baby. Saquon Barkley. He started on the first play of the game. He hit that pass and he just went boom. It's funny to me. It made a lot of sense though. He didn't expect to be booed. He got booed. You could tell as soon as he got booed, he knew he was going to have a game. I felt like everybody in that stadium knew what Saquon Barkley was capable of when he left for Philadelphia. And this game only solidified that as the Giants just got dismantled. This is one of those games where each team just couldn't really move the ball too much for some reason. The Eagles' offense is just I can't believe it, how inconsistent they are. Nick Sirianni is a big reason for that, I believe. I feel like the Eagles would be so much better if they didn't have Nick Sirianni as head coach. That's just my own personal belief. But I do think that this was one of the worst games of the week.
Yeah, shame on all the Giants fans who booed Saquon Barkley. Not his fault that Joe Shane prioritized Daniel Jones over him. Like they weren't pay him, and so he went to a team that would. I mean, he wanted to stay in New York. He even said he wanted to stay in New York, but they weren't paying him. They weren't valuing him. So why would he want to stay to a team that's not going to value him? So any Giants fan that boos Saquon Barkley, shame on you. You suck. Speaking of shitty fans, the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson tore his Achilles, and then they went and booed him. I understand Deshaun Watson is a piece of shit. He is an awful human being. But to root for to cheer when someone gets injured is so disgusting and pathetic. I absolutely awful look for Browns fans. I get it. He's awful person, awful player, awful contract. Everything about him is awful. Just an awful situation. But he's still a human being. It's not like he was purposely trying to lose. He was going out and giving it his all. Yes, he's terrible, but he was trying to win football games. He was trying. And then a football play happened and his Achilles bust. And he's out for the year. That might be the last NFL snap he took. And for you guys to boo him or for you guys to cheer that he got injured, pathetic, sickening.
Yeah, I agree though. Especially the way it happened too, though. The fact that he did that like without anybody hitting him, it just happened all on its own. Like he just he dropped back, went to step up, and it just popped awkwardly. I understand all the allegations, all the issues he's had off the field, but you got to remember, you got to respect the player Deshaun Watson as well as the human being of Deshaun Watson. I understand the human being is not as good of as good as he used to be in years past, but this is a situation here where you should never boo an injury, especially one that is season ending. You know, like I understand
it could be career ending
for a player or two, that's a lot different. But for it to be a season ending injury, potentially this be the last season as him as a starting quarterback in the NFL. This could be the very last snap he takes as an NFL starter. And for you to boo him like that, I understand. But man, you guys didn't boo when you traded for him. You guys didn't boo then, did you? You thought you were getting a good football player. Just because he's not a good football player doesn't he was a piece of shit when you were cheering for him because you traded for him. And now that he's a bad player and a piece of shit, now you're booing him. If he was a good player, none of y'all would have booed him. None of them.
They cheered that he got injured. They didn't boo him. They cheered that he got injured.
Oh, sorry.
And I think they chanted like "You deserve it" or something like that. I heard someone said there was some sickening chant too.
Yeah, exactly though, because I understand that you cheered for him to get injured and stuff like that, but at the same time, you were all happy when you first got him when he was a piece of shit then. And the fact that now you're switching up because he's not as good on the field as you thought he was going to be is just absolutely disgusting. This game, by the way, happy to see Nick Chubb get back on the scoreboard. Also. Yeah, I know, literally. But happy to see Nick Chubb get back on the scoreboard. Interesting to see the Bengals finally winning a game against the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, we predicted this. This is a must-win game for the Bengals. The Bengals are starting to find their groove, I guess, a little bit. Not on offense.
The defense is playing much better.
Yes, exactly.
Their offense, we know what their offense is capable. It's really the question is their defense.
If that offense gets going in these next couple weeks, I would not be surprised to see the Bengals quickly emerge back into the playoff race.
Yeah, I mean, that Joe Burrow to Ja'Marr Chase connection is lethal. Jamar's kind of slowly running away with the receiving yards. He's got because the only person who because Nico was and the only person that was close to him was Nico, and Nico missing 4 games, and then Chris Godwin was also up there, but all the people going after him to get the yardage mark from him, they're just dropping like flies. Jettis is going to be next. Knock on wood. I'd kill myself because there goes one of my fantasy teams because my wide receiver 2 got injured. My wide receiver 3 and 4 I traded. So my wide receiver 2 right now is Wanda Robinson.
I lost Ayuk and Godwin this week. If Jettis gets injured, I'm actually offing myself, bro.
One of my leagues. I'm the 1 seed despite having Chris Godwin, Chris Olave, Nico Collins, Puka, and Pacheco all being injured, and I'm still 6-1 in the highest scoring team in the league.
I'm 5-2 right now, so I'm chilling.
Yeah. Moving on to I'm trying to think. Are there any 5-2 teams? I was going to make a segue. The 5-2 Washington Commanders. They're
Yeah.
5-2 after they dismantled the awful Carolina Panthers. Jaden Daniels, Marcus Mariota came in and cooked them. This Commanders defense is actually, like, I got to give credit to Dan Quinn. I thought he was not a good defensive coordinator. I think it's more so just that the Dallas Cowboys, their talent was terrible because, I mean, you see how bad their defense is this year without him. Because look at, they allowed 37 to the Bucs week 1, whatever. The Bucs offense, passing attacks were really good. Then 18 to the Giants, pretty good. Then they allowed 33 to the Bengals. The Bengals offense is really good. They got Jamar Chase. The way you score a lot on the Commanders is you have to have a lethal passing attack. And if you don't, then they're going to. But then
and
only
it's
14
decent offensive line.
Then 14 against the Cardinals, 13 against the Browns, 7 against the Panthers. They're not as god awful defense as we thought. Are they a good defense? No, because they've allowed over 30 points 3 times. And if you have good wide receivers and you have a decent quarterback and you have a good enough offensive line, you're going to be able to tee off on them because their corners are not that good. But Dan Quinn is doing a good job with the talent that he has around him. So I do want to give him credit there. I also want to give credit to Cliff Kingsbury. The question is, can his offense hold up? Same thing happened in Arizona. He came there. The offense looked electric with the mobile quarterbacks running around making these plays. And then it kind of became stale and teams like figured it out. And his last year in the Cardinals looked really, really bad with how bad the offense did not look that good. And so the question is, will he be more than just a one-year wonder on the Commanders? Because so far, has that Kyle Stalledge offense that has been working really well. I mean, the offense has been unstoppable for the most part this year. So I do want to give credit there. And the Panthers, they're just playing for the number 1 pick right now. They're pathetic. They're awful. Prayers up to Andy Dalton and his family. I heard they got in a car crash earlier, so I heard everyone's okay. But I just want to give out my prayers. Hope nothing bad happens. Hope everyone's all good. Safe recovery to any injuries that anyone sustained. Good thing it wasn't life threatening. So it's good to hear that. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, first with the car crash, obviously, like, prayers up for him and his family. Back to the football aspect of this game. This game was a shellacking. The Panthers did absolutely nothing right on offense for 3.5 quarters. That Chuba Hubbard touchdown, whatever. I get that. You got on the board finally. Woohoo. But this Commanders defense, yes, they haven't looked that bad. And I feel like a lot of people have mentioned this. Dan Quinn should be getting a lot more respect than he has been getting by other people. And I said it as soon as the offseason when they hired him. This was a perfect fit for Dan Quinn for the simple fact that they have the pass rush and the secondary is the problem. In Dallas, the problem was not the secondary. You had Trayvon Diggs, you had Deron Bland, you even had Stephon Gilmore who was playing solid. The pass rush was the issue, and I feel like that's the big issue for them now. So giving a little bit of slack to Dan Quinn. This was just one of those games where you understood what was going to happen. You knew what they had to do, and they came out and they did it to perfection. Obviously, he ended up getting injured or whatever, so it's interesting to see how it's worked and stuff. But I do like the addition of Dan Quinn. I think he's done a solid job, and honestly, at the same time, Jaden Daniels has done everything you could really ask for as well. So congratulations to the Commanders on keeping it up. And for the Panthers, man, you just got to be happy that you're in the contention for the first overall pick to help make the team better in the future. Moving
on, a couple of these games, not really much to talk about. At least these next 2, I'm just going to go over real quick. We'll just give real quick. Colts beat the Dolphins 16-10. The Dolphins suck without Tua. Colts, they're 4-3, but don't look that inspiring. Anthony Richardson has not taken the jump that I expected. He has bad accuracy issues and has not been able to make up for it on the ground or unless he hits the big plays. Kind of hit or miss. I definitely was wrong about that. I just thought the pairing with Shane Steichen would have been so good. Maybe he'll be able to turn it on throughout the year. Maybe getting Jonathan Taylor back will help him a lot. But it's been kind of rough. They were able to pull out the win because, again, the Dolphins suck without Tua because they decided to replace a pocket passing quarterback with a running style quarterback to fit a pass heavy scheme. Kind of stupid, but whatever. Do you have anything you want to say about that game?
Other than the fact that, like, they look like the Bills from 2018 where Josh Allen was out there running for his life every single play. That's exactly what the Colts look like. They don't have a running game. They just don't. They don't have a running game. They can't do anything to really, like, run the football without Jonathan Taylor, and it's showing these last few weeks. I understand you have a good offensive line, but if you don't have the guy who can hit the holes, you're going to be in a very big problem, and that's exactly where they're at now. Richardson's trying to run for first downs every other play. It's not the way to win football in the NFL.
Yep. And then the other game I want to touch upon quickly is the Rams were able to beat the Raiders 20-15. They kind of dominated for most of that game. The Raiders were able to make it close. Prayers up to AOC as he recovers from his AC joint injury. The Rams, they won another game to their 2-4. They're starting to get healthier, but they might be blowing it up, which I really don't agree with. But they did get a much needed win against a bad Raiders team to move to 2-4. The Raiders, they're looking like they're tanking for Shadur or Cam Ward or be the most Raiders thing ever if they take Ashton Genty. I mean, he would be insane, but that would just be the most Raiders thing ever to need a quarterback and take a running back, even though they do desperately need one of them. What are your thoughts on this game?
I do think this is another one of those sleeper games. I didn't really think that anybody watched this one. Unfortunately, if you watched Red Zone, this was one of the only 3 games I was on in the late window.
I watched it just because I wanted Stafford touchdowns.
Yeah, right. I do think that Kupp will come back this week. Obviously, the trade rumors are circulating right now with the deadline coming up soon. So we'll see if he actually gets dealt. If they do blow it up, though, and he does get dealt, I don't agree with that decision much like you don't. As for the Raiders, obviously, Aiden O'Connell gets injured in this game. You're going to have to go back to Gardner Minshew. I do think Minshew is a solid fit for this team, especially in the offseason. I thought he would be fine, and then they completely look terrible with him at under center. So unfortunate for them. The only real thing you can be happy about if you're the Raiders right now is Brock Bowers. He has looked phenomenal. Yeah. And
people are clowning that pick, and I thought it was a great pick because it was best player available. And that's when you're a team like the Raiders and you had so much going wrong. Just take best player available.
Exactly. And that's exactly what they did. And I really like the addition for them. As for the Rams, hopefully they can start to get healthy before this Thursday night game.
Puka is practicing this week. He's probably not going to play Thursday night.
No,
but Kupp is playing.
I would expect for Steve Avila and Jonah Jackson to both come back the week after this week. So because they play Thursday night, I think they'll all be back next week.
Yeah, Kupp will be back this week. They have.
Which is also why I don't agree with the blow-up decision. Why are you going to blow it all up when you're 10 days away from potentially having the roster?
Because think about it like this. They're probably going to lose to the Vikings, but with Kupp back, I'm not going to rule out a Stafford Kupp masterclass to win that game. I'm picking the Vikings. Spoiler alert, but I mean, it's definitely possible. But then you have the Seahawks with, as you're saying, everyone should be back. Then the Dolphins, even with Tua, they didn't look like a great team to start the year, getting blown out by the Bills and barely beating a bad Jags team. Then you have the Patriots. Boom. Okay, you're 5-5 right there. If you lose to the Vikings and you win those 3 games, you're 5-5. And then you have the Eagles. A fully healthy Rams team could beat the Eagles at home because they are at home.
Especially against the Eagles secondary.
Yeah, they could, but we'll say loss. Then you have the Saints, 6-6. Bills, I'm going 6-7. Then the Niners. The Niners are banged up. Who knows how they're going to look then? They already beat them once.
When is it? Do you know the schedule? Like what day?
Mid-December. It's the 12th. But they're going to be without Ayuk.
McCaffrey's back.
But they're without Ayuk. Who knows other injuries? They've been hitting the injury bug. And who knows how McCaffrey looks, or who knows if he re-injures it. Like, there's a lot of moving parts there. I'll give them the loss. So then 6-8. And then the end of the year, Jets, Cardinals, Seahawks. That's 9-8, and that's with you losing to the Eagles and the Niners, and those are both. That's with you losing to the Eagles, the Bills, the Niners, and the Vikings. The Vikings lost, but the other 3 games are definitely winnable if you're a healthy team. So I think
that Eagles game is really where they can make it 10-7 case, and with the Bucs
or the Niners game. But yeah,
and I'm not going to lie to you. Outside of obviously the only real team that you can, I guess, throw in the mix aside from the NFC North really being the Lions, Vikings, and Packers, whichever 2 don't win the division, probably get the first 2 wild cards. But then you have the Rams, the Commanders, the Bears, and then if you want to throw the Seahawks or Eagles, well, I think the Eagles win the division.
What about the Commanders?
That's why I said Commanders is because Commanders or Eagles, whichever one, and then whichever one wins the division. So I'm just saying for the wild card specifically.
And the Rams could still win that division.
They could.
They're only a half a game behind the Niners, and if they beat them again, then they have the. If they beat them, Yeah, if they beat them again, then they have the tiebreaker over them. So
Or if they have the better division record, which it looks like they're going to because the Niners lost to the Cardinals.
So did the Rams.
Oh, yeah, you're right. The Rams got smoked. Okay, so yeah.
But
well, they're right there.
So that game, so like it's definitely too early to blow it up. Maybe,
Right.
maybe okay. So it's week 9 is the trade deadline. Let me right before week 9. Well, I guess I kind of get it then. If you want to be at 2-5 and you just want to, I understand it if you want to trade away Kupp, but I just disagree with it. But if you do trade away Kupp, I think they can still be back next year because they have a lot of cap space. They've been drafting well. If they come back healthy next year and just get a wide receiver 2 next to Puka, they could still be a formidable unit.
Pretty solid free agency class for it too. So
yeah, with like Chris Godwin and Deontay Johnson being big name free agents.
Godwin goes to the Rams, it's over.
Yeah. Let me move on to the next game. I guess we'll go Seahawks slapping on the Falcons 34-13. No one saw this coming. The only person on the offense that showed up for the Falcons was Bijan Robinson.
34-14, right?
Yeah.
This was a pretty bad game. I can't lie to you. Obviously, I think everybody and their brother knew that this was a must-win game for the Seahawks after the run they've had of late. They have been completely falling apart. And on the opposite side, you have a Falcons team that's finally starting to put it together, it felt like. And then the exact opposite happens. We see this every single season in the NFL, I feel like, at this point. With the Seahawks, congratulations on a win here. They really showed up, especially defensively. I think their defense kept hearing all week, oh, their defense sucks. Their defense sucks. And they're like, okay, let's prove them wrong. Let's actually go out and play a full 60 minutes. And that's exactly what they did in this one. As you mentioned, Bijan Robinson, the only person on that offense that shows up in this one. I felt like this was the game that they were built to beat the Falcons. And I felt that coming into this week. But at the same time, we're talking about teams on opposite trajectories, a team that's really good late and a team that's really bad late. So it's just how it goes, and it's interesting to see, but yeah, it's tough for them. But at the end of the day, I think they'll be fine. They're playing in a division now where I don't think there's anybody that can compete with them, especially after the Godwin and Evans injuries, because Evans is now out until at least after the week 11 bye, they said. So with that being said, there's a clear-cut path to still winning the division, whether you go 9-8, 10-7, whatever. I think that they still get in. So for the Seahawks, this was a must-win game, and they got it done.
Yeah, I mean, this is good for my this is good for my divisions bet, other than the Niners kind of stinking it up. But because I had Lions, I think they win that. Niners, Chiefs, Bills, Texans, Ravens, Falcons, Eagles. So really the only ones right now they're kind of up for grabs. I guess you could say the Ravens, but they're way better than the Steelers. Would be the Eagles and the Niners, and because I think the Falcons kind of will run away with that division without, like, it was at $5. I could cash it out for $18 right now if I want to, but I'm not going to, because if this bet hits, I turn $5 into $1,000. So I'm not, yeah. And all of them look still likely like it could happen, so that would be pretty cool.
What do you use to bet? Like, what do you bet on?
FanDuel. Yeah. But yeah, the Seahawks Falcon game, very surprising. I think what it comes down to is the Seahawks decided they're gonna just put the ball in Kenny Walker hands a lot, and it worked out. 14 carries, 69 yards and a touchdown, 2 catches, 24 yards and a touchdown. He is a top 10 running back in this league. I think you can make a legitimate argument for him being a top 5 back with how good he's done behind this awful of an offensive line. Like, I mean, what are the only running backs that are like I would say definitely better than him? McCaffrey,
Henry.
Saquon, Derrick Henry. I think those are the only 3 definites.
If Nick Chubb, gets healthy,
I don't think he will though. Then the argument can be like Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan, Kyren. Not really. I wouldn't say so. Yeah, you could throw some. Yeah, so yeah, Bijan, Kyren, Joe Mixon. Then Kenny's in that tier. Jonathan Taylor. I mean, that's kind of the next tier. I wouldn't probably throw anyone. I wouldn't throw James Cook in there now, because Ray Davis has looked just as good as him.
That's fair.
That
is fair.
And so I think James Cook's good. I think James Cook's good, but I think the fact that Ray Davis came in as a rookie and is kind of putting up similar numbers makes me think it's a little bit more of a system
Right.
with James Cook
Another
being
thing,
good.
though,
He's
for that
elevating
Kenneth
it.
Walker point, though, another thing is like he's definitely top 5 in receiving as well.
Yeah, and as a runner, his rushing stats don't look
So
great.
overall, he's probably top
Yeah.
5. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
his rushing stats don't look great, but he missed 2 games, and they're at bottom 5 offensive line in this league. Like they're the only legit offensive lineman they have is Charles Cross. He's good. The rest of the O line is kind of.
See, that's the exact
right
reason I
side
thought
is
that
awful.
the Seahawks could win this game, because you're going against the Falcons' defensive line that has nobody to stop the run. They like Grady Jarrett, but outside of him, none of them.
That's why I said in this game.
Rusher.
That's why I said in this game, I'm like, I could see Bijan and Kenny Walker combining for 50 fantasy points. They combined for 47. Like, I put them both in my touchdown parlay. I'm like, these are two very good running backs going against 2 very bad rush defenses. And you could see they absolutely cooked. But yeah, I mean, Kirko did not have a very good game. Kyle Pitts had a decent game. He's been playing better lately. But yeah, I mean, the Seahawks defense really stepped up. I didn't expect them to. I thought they'd be able to run it with Bijan early and often, and then Kirk being so good off the play action would cook the secondary. But I don't know. Maybe the Seahawks are getting healthy. I haven't really checked that out. They did have the defensive touchdown, but I mean, kudos to the Seahawks. Very good win, because I mean their schedule doesn't get any easier as they host the Bills next week, who's looked pretty good the last. Exactly. Moving on, the game of the week. The Lions defeating the Minnesota Vikings, handing the Vikings their first loss of the year. The Lions winning 31-29. The exact reasons why I thought the Lions were going to beat the Vikings came into fruition. If you can run the ball on the Vikings, then you can hit play. If you can stay ahead of the sticks, that's how you beat this Vikings defense, because they're not super talented. Brian Flores is just an amazing coach, and he cooks up these brilliant blitz packages where he's moving things around. So as long as you stay out of these 2nd and 3rd and longs where he can't unleash these packages and confuse you, and you can stay out of the sticks with the run game and the play action, you're going to be able to move it up and down on this Vikings defense. And that's exactly what this Lions team was able to do. Jared Goff's been playing amazing. This offense is clicking on all cylinders. The O-line's so good. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery getting injured really went off. They're both probably top 10 running backs in the league. They're insanely electric. Amon-Ra St. Brown had a really good game. Yeah, I mean, there's not much you can say. I mean, I guess the defense wasn't great, but they just lost Hutch. They have time to kind of fill in that role. But either way, I think the Lions are the best team in football right now. The Vikings definitely gave them a run for their money. Sam Darnold had another good game. I mean, Justin Jefferson is Justin Jefferson. Aaron Jones coming back helped that run game. But ultimately, I think the Lions they had the better quarterback, the better coaching, and the more talented team. And I wouldn't say better coaching. I say equal coaching. Better quarterback and the more talented team. And then what the Vikings' advantage was always out coaching the other team. You can't out coach the Lions, really. They're one of the best coached teams in the league.
Yeah, I agree a lot here.
The Sabres are on the power play. I can't wait for them to not score.
As they almost just did.
I was going to say, I'm like, holy shit, did we actually finally get one? That'd be the most Sabres thing ever, though.
Yeah, right.
Sorry for distracting you there. All right. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I really liked a lot of what you said. The one thing I will disagree on, though, is
the Celtics are cooking the Knicks. Continue.
Okay. But in regard to the Lions game, obviously, the one thing I will disagree, though, is I felt like the Lions defense did not play bad at all in this game. They had the one defensive touchdown, and other than that, they would have gave up like 20 points basically in this game. They played very solid for most of this one. I feel like the Lions played better than the score indicated. The Lions should have won this game by 2 scores if it wasn't for that touchdown return. And realistically, the Lions played significantly better. They worked off the play action, which is their biggest strength. They are literally specifically built to beat a team like Minnesota.
This is exactly why if we were to ever fire Sean McDermott, Ben Johnson is the number one guy. Like, if we fired Sean McDermott, I'd want it to be for Ben Johnson, because imagine him cooking up the play action with Josh Allen. That would be a dream come true.
Yeah, and then I'll look out the window and see pigs fly, as you like to say. So,
yeah, shut up.
Anyway, I do think that this was a very good game. Obviously, the Vikings did show up to play. Justin Jefferson is the Lion killer. He is amazing against the Lions. He always has
He's
been.
amazing against everyone.
He didn't really play too great in this game. He had that really good touchdown near the end to keep him in this one.
That win me money.
The Lions looked like they were in control for most of this game, if I will say so myself. So I think this is one of those games for the fans. Obviously, for the Vikings, this was a very close game. I don't think you sniff a win against the Lions now because you have to go into Detroit to beat them the second time. I don't think they beat them at all this year. So I think that the Detroit Lions got a much-needed win on the road in Minnesota this week, keeps them alive for that division. Really, in my opinion, wins them the division. And the Lions put together a very good week, and the game of the week, as Jake Bates hit a game-winning field goal as time expired. So congratulations to Detroit.
Yes. So we are down to our final 4 games of the week. I forgot to mention this earlier, but me and Thomas both went 12-3 on our picks. So we've been cooking these last couple weeks, doing a really good job. So our records are really getting up there. But moving on, we have the Chiefs versus the 49ers. Mahomes didn't look good once again, but the Chiefs just continue to find ways to win. They're the last unbeaten team in the NFL. Prayers up for Brandon Ayuk's knee and Deebo Samuel. I know you're hospitalized with your illness. I hope you get better.
He just got released from the hospital later today.
Oh, that's good.
For this game, for the 49ers, man, I can't tell you how bad this looked. They really didn't play good. And if I'm being completely honest, neither of these teams looked good in this game. Mahomes had 2 interceptions. Obviously, he had the touchdown or whatever where he bulldozed.
Oh, wow. We didn't score in the power play.
But at the same time, yeah, right. But at the same time, for the 49ers, this is a game that they didn't really – coming into this one, I felt like nobody thought they were going to win. This was a game where you really had to outcoach Andy Reid to get the job done, and they looked awful in every facet of the word. They lost this game by 2 scores because of it. They really couldn't really put together anything in this one. So on the opposite side, though, for the Chiefs, I feel like this is the scariest they've ever looked since I've started watching football. This may be the scariest team I've ever seen in my entire life watching football with the way the Kansas City Chiefs have been. Mahomes has 6 touchdowns to 8 interceptions this season, passing-wise. And
they're 6-0.
The Chiefs are 6-0. This is absolutely terrifying. As a Bills fan, this is terrifying because they made up for Mahomes' turnovers in this game by their defense getting 3 of their own. And that's after they lost Jalen Watson. That's after they lost him. So realistically, this is just I feel like this is another one of those things, like this is a system thing. And if you look at L'Jarius Sneed, he's a perfect example. Since going to Tennessee, he has looked nothing like his former self, like he was with Kansas City. And Brett Veach said, okay, you want to leave? Well, we'll just replace you with somebody who can do the exact same thing. And that's
this is why I don't think Brett Veach is a very good GM. I truly think
so
Brett Veach is. I think he is genuinely a bad GM, but he's saved by having the best head coach in football, the best defensive coordinator in football, and the best quarterback in football. Because who scored?
Peyton Krebs. Let's go.
UPL's having a good game though. No goals allowed so far. But as I was saying, think about it. Who good is he? When was Brett Veach hired? Actually, I don't know the exact.
Well, the thing is Brett Veach has still drafted some very solid guys. Like he drafted Trey Smith in the 6th round, an absolute steal. Isaiah Pacheco in the 7th round, which is another steal.
He was drafted in 2017. So that means July 10th, 2017. Brett Veach was hired as the Chiefs GM after they drafted Mahomes. So since 2018, who are his good draft picks? Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, Isaiah Pacheco.
Jalen Watson, who was a 7th round pick as well.
Jalen Watson, Nick Bolton, Leo Chanel, Trent McDuffie.
Yeah, exactly, Nick Bolton. There's another one. They've had a lot.
Then think about it. But then when players leave the system, they do actually nothing. Like L'Jarius Sneed.
Well, he's the only one to leave the system so far.
And then look at these wide receivers. What are the wide receivers he's drafted? Sky Moore, Xavier Worthy, Mecole Hardman, all top 2-round picks. All of them have been awful.
Yeah, that's fair.
And he hasn't drafted a single good tackle. They don't have they've maybe signed /
Ainsley
traded.
Matthias is probably going to be better
Maybe,
the next couple of years.
maybe
He looked
maybe.
good at BYU.
He hasn't got anyone on the D line because Chris Jones was drafted before he got there.
Yeah.
Not much for safeties.
I think it's okay.
I just think it's I really just because think about it. These no names are becoming pretty good out of nowhere because I think it's more because of Steve Spagnuolo. And then you have Snead leaving, who was the best corner in football last year, left and is now awful. I don't think he genuinely got bad. I just think the system made him look much better than he was. Similar to J.C. Jackson on the Patriots. Oh,
McLeod!
He is. Oh my God! Say what you want about.
We're so back. Say what
you want about Kevin Adams being a bad GM. He got so much undeserved hate for that trade. McLeod has been an absolute beast. And then
trading that to put up 80 points a season with McDavid as his fucking center, and then everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, Kevin Adams was terrible."
Who was the pat? Who got the assist?
Zucker got the assist.
That third line is
perfect pass, by the way. That third line slide that right to the legs.
That third line is one of the best third lines in hockey, in my opinion.
I think Winnipeg is currently the best right now. They've looked insane.
But our first line is here. Actually, we'll wait till we get to the Sabres before I really get into it. But so we'll move on from the Chiefs game because we got to kind of hurry up with these last couple of games.
Two of the three we can talk really quickly.
Yeah, Steelers swack the Jets 37-15.
Adams.
Yeah, I mean the defense got injured. The defense got injured, and losing or firing Robert Saleh was just a bad decision, in my opinion. I think he was a really good defensive mastermind. So yeah, I mean the Jets are kind of in shambles right now at 2-5. They thought trading for Davante Adams would fix things. It didn't fix anything. The offense still looked bad because Rodgers just does not look that great. The offensive line isn't that good. Breece Hall just hasn't looked that good either, like running the ball, besides against us, but for some reason he always cooks us.
He has not the worst rush defense in the league some weeks.
He hasn't been that great this year. And Rodgers just hasn't been on connection that well. And then the defense losing so many guys to injury and firing Robert Saleh. That defense is looking pretty bleak right now. So it does not look good if you are a New York Jets fan. And then on the Steelers side, Russell Wilson came in, didn't start out that great, but 37 points. Najee Harris looks like he is legitimately good running back. George Pickens looks like a wide receiver one. Both of them came out, just balled out. So kudos to them. The Steelers defense looks great. Got anything else to add?
Yeah, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I like the addition of Russell Wilson. I feel like everybody – I've seen so many people saying on Twitter, "Oh, I knew that Russell Wilson would be solid." You're full of shit, bro. Everybody and their brother hated the decision for them to move on from Fields this early, especially after how Fields has started.
I still don't like it. I still don't think Russell played that well. I think it's more so the running game and their defense.
They had a breakout game really in this one. They looked phenomenal. Especially in the second half, they started to pick it up and they really dominated. As for the Jets side of things, this is the worst career of Rodgers. This is the worst season of Rodgers' career. He's looked absolutely god awful, and the addition of his butt buddy Davante Adams clearly didn't help shit. So realistically, I feel like the worst decision was to fire Robert Saleh. He was the only reason this team was not 0-7.
Yeah, they should have just fired Nathaniel Hackett. That was the issue, not Robert Saleh. It was Nathaniel Hackett. Jason Tatum's a god.
They've not looked that great. It's been a tough start for them. And realistically, for the Jets, I don't think this gets any better from here. I think it's basically wraps after this. I feel like this is a game where everyone was like, "Oh, well, they traded for Adams. They're fine now. They're still going 10-7. They're making the playoff." No, 2-5.
And their schedule does not.
They play the Bills again.
They still have to play the Dolphins twice with Tua.
Exactly. Then
they still have to play the Texans.
They play the Bengals.
No, they don't. They don't play the Bengals. They play the Texans. They play the Colts and Seahawks. Both have winning records. The Dolphins twice. The Dolphins twice with Tua. The Bills once. And then if the Rams don't blow it up.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it does not look good for them. But I mean, at this point, I kind of would want just suck. If you're being honest, I'd want them to suck so that maybe they can get a quarterback that can sit behind Rodgers for
Jalen Milroe.
No,
I would lose my mind.
I would laugh. I would make sure I'd call up Spike to make sure he doesn't kill himself. Because if I was a Jets fan and we drafted Jalen Milroe in the first round, I'd contemplate suicide.
No, I think Jalen Milroe would be a perfect fit for the Jets. I really do.
Jalen Milroe's awful.
I'm not going to go.
Jalen Milroe's dog shit.
Milroe,
Jalen
though,
Milroe's bad.
He's read
bad.
option offense with Breece Hall.
Breece Hall has not looked that good this year, and Jalen Milroe's looked even worse. He has been
Jalen Milroe's issue is the turnovers, and Jalen Milroe would learn how to stop that.
Jalen Milroe's issue is he's not good. Jalen Milroe's issue is he's not good.
I don't know.
Did you watch that game?
That's fine. I did.
And so you watched the game and you're
Waddle, Georgia.
Yeah. So you watch that game and your takeaway is Jalen Milroe should still be drafted in the first round.
I didn't say first round. You're putting words in my mouth. I never said first round.
I'm talking about the quarterback they should draft in the first round. I'm saying they should draft someone in the first round.
You just said draft a quarterback.
I said suck and then draft a quarterback, kind of indicating early in the first round.
Well, I mean, if they draft somebody in the first round, that'd just be a bonehead play.
No, I think Shedeur or Cam Ward are both worth first-round selections.
No, I don't think they're not. But I'm saying for the Jets specifically, what's the point in drafting another quarterback to sit behind Rodgers?
Because Rodgers sucks.
Even more, and then you have offseason
issues. Because Rodgers isn't that good?
No, it's true. But at the same time,
it worked out for the Packers. Worked out well for the Packers.
It did work out for the Packers because they got rid of Aaron Rodgers. They're not going to get.
Yeah, but he sat for 4 years. I'm not saying Cam Ward or Shedeur was going to sit for 4 years, but they can sit for 1 year.
Yeah, I guess, but at the same time, you got to look at it from the Jets' point of view. They think they're good enough to win now, and Woody Johnson literally said next year that they're going all in again. They're going to go all in again next year.
Oh, they're stupid. Then Woody Johnson is an idiot because they're whatever. Moving on to
Bucks Ravens.
Another idiot would be would be Greg Roman, I guess, if I want to blame one person for the Chargers offense. I genuinely feel bad for Justin Herbert. Throws for 350 yards against the Cardinals and they lose. Throws for 350 yards, they allow 17 points, and then they lose because his leading receiver is Will Dissly. I mean, he's throwing to a rookie Ladd McConkey, who I like and I think will be good, but again, is a rookie.
Not capable.
Josh Palmer, Will Dissly, and a couple of those names I've never even heard of before. Simi Fahako, Stone Smart, Eric Tomlinson.
Yeah.
Jalen Reagor had a big catch and then fumbles it. They couldn't get the run game going. And Justin Herbert was able to cook them, and it just did not matter. And the defense played well for the most part, other than a couple of bad plays. But at the end of the day, they are not able. Yeah, they were not able to pull out the win. The Cardinals come away with that in a devastating loss, I think, for the Chargers and their attempts to make the playoffs. Because 3-3 versus 4-2 in the AFC is big difference.
I mean, right now there's nobody for that wild card race. There's no one.
The Colts are there.
You have the division winners, and that's it. Who else?
The Steelers, Bengals,
Cincinnati,
Colts.
if they can start coming back. And then the Jets have looked like trash. I don't think the Jets make it now. After losing this last game, I don't think there's even a chance in hell.
The Dolphins could come back with Tua.
I doubt it, though. And they still have a couple of teams.
The Colts, the Broncos, the Bengals, the Chargers are in that mix. Probably, and the Steelers.
Exactly. That's my point, though. There's no one in that AFC. I think the Chargers will be just fine. They'll probably end up with the 6 or the 7 seed. I would presume the 7. I think the Bengals make a run and get that final spot, and then I think the Steelers have to make it at this point.
But the Colts schedule is pretty easy, though.
The Colts schedule is pretty easy, so they could get in. But I feel like they go 9-8, and I feel like you never know with the Colts though, because Anthony Richardson is the biggest fraud I've ever seen in my life. He has 1 week where he's the best quarterback in the league, and then the next week where he's literally like the Tim Boyle. Want
to know who isn't a fraud? Jason Tatum. He has 25 points at halftime.
Oh, that's just lovely. What's the score?
They're cooking. They're winning by like 20. It's like 74-55. They're cooking the Knicks right now.
Hilarious if we just came back and ruined your guys' ring ceremony night.
Yeah, doubt it.
I can't wait for
But the final game is the Baltimore Ravens shellacking of the Tampa Bay Bucks. They only won 41-31, but there was just a couple of garbage touchdowns because the Ravens' back seven isn't that good. Prayers up, though, to Chris Godwin with a nasty ankle injury. I saw his foot going the other way, and I was like,
he couldn't even get up, bro.
And that's going to lose him a lot of money because he's a free agent after this year, and he was having a career year before that. That's going to cost him a lot of money. So I really feel bad for him. Mike Evans getting injured too. Tampa kind of just lost their two best players in this like that. So genuinely kind of feel bad for Bucs fans as they had a legitimate shot at the division and a playoff spot. And it's kind of looking a little rough right now because now Baker Mayfield's top targets are K-Dot and Jalen McMillan, which they're good. No discredit from them. But if those are your top two passing options,
I'm excited to see what they do with the running backs now because I obviously saw Sean Tucker had a good game. Bucky Irving's been coming into his own. Rachaad White is always a receiving threat. I feel like they're going to have to use the running backs a lot more often if they want to be successful in this team. And then also for K-Dot, and he's made some very good plays when he's been getting the ball. I understand it's limited touches, but that's because Godwin and Evans were playing. Now that they're both out, they can start to rely a little bit more on him and more on that running game. I think they'll be okay, but at the same time, you can't underestimate.
And a very tough NFC. So
exactly.
For me on the Ravens side of the things, I hate to admit it, but I think right now I would give the edge to Lamar for MVP. I've been saying Josh Allen, but if I really want to be unbiased,
off this week,
I think I'm gonna get. I think Lamar has in a much easier time than Josh Allen. I think he's in a better system, has better weapons, and is throwing to more open guys because of how good Derrick Henry is. But I mean, the numbers he's putting up are just crazy right now.
If Josh Allen's playing this good, then
if Josh Allen keeps playing like he did with Amari Cooper, then I think if Josh keeps playing the way he did on Sunday with having now Amari Cooper and Keon step up, I could see Josh easily taking it back. Like I think it's close between the two of them. I think I think it's them two, and then there's kind of like that second tier of guys. I think Lamar and Allen are kind of in their own tier right now, but I would give the edge to Lamar. Because he didn't have these bad games like Allen did against the Texans and kind of against the Ravens. I think Allen played a better game than the stats showed up, but Allen's had much more rough moments than Lamar has. So I will give the edge to Lamar right now. They are looking like the better team. So, but yeah, that offense that I will admit when I'm wrong. When I said Derrick Henry was washed, I'm sorry about that. I'm clearly wrong. Yeah, because
it's fair.
I mean, Derrick.
They look like the best team in football these last few weeks.
I think the issue with Derrick Henry, the reason he kind of looked washed in Tennessee, is because he's someone who's not very agile. But if he gets a full head of steam going, it's over because he's so fast and so powerful.
And then you got one of the best play callers in the game right now, who's been scheming up perfect plays for him to get that speed.
Exactly. Derrick Henry.
No one is better at the outside run than Derrick Henry, and then
you have Ronnie Stanley, and then Rosengarten. Both of those tackles have been absolutely maulers in the run game.
Rosengarten has been insane to start.
Yeah, they've been opening up holes left. They've been opening up holes left and right in the run game. And Derrick Henry's been capitalizing. He's been getting those holes, and he gets that full head of steam. Good luck. That's all I got to say. And Tennessee, they couldn't get him those open lanes because the offensive line was so bad. So he wasn't getting that full head of steam, and he's just not agile enough to really kind of dance his way around. He's just got a straight head and boom. But yeah, this Ravens team's looking really scary.
Yeah, they are.
We'll move on to MLB as my New York Yankees were able to take care in 5. Like I predicted, and the World Series starts on Friday. The Yankees take on the Dodgers as the Mets were not able to complete the comeback. L plus ratio, Yankees better. But yeah, I mean, Juan Soto, oh my God, I want to kiss you right now. That home run, he has been so clutch. I mean, the Yankees offense in general has been insanely clutch. Clutch home run after clutch home run, clutch hit, like. It's been absolute beauty to see that. But moving on, yeah, they do play the Dodgers. I'll give you the floor first. How do you think this series plays out?
You're not going to like my answer one bit,
Yeah.
but I have the Dodgers winning this series in 6 games. I think this is a surefire series that's going to go at least 6 or 7. The reason I'm leaning 6 in this one is the only issue I see with the New York Yankees is they really like to if they get hot, then they can keep it going for a long period of time, and I understand that. But you're going up against one of the best pitching rotations in the game right now who limit those big run plays. If you look at the Mets this entire postseason, not to talk about my own team, I guess, in this situation, but the Mets were one of the best teams in the league at getting runs, not off hits and stuff of that nature, but the big hits, like the Lindor grand slam, the 3-run homer by Alonso to beat the Brewers in round 1. And they shut us down. Shut them down in this entire series for the most part, outside of a Vientos a couple Vientos home runs. That was basically it. I feel like they shut down the Yankees as well. And I understand the Yankees have a little bit better at bats, obviously with Stanton and, of course, Judge.
Soto.
See, you guys have better players than we do with like Lindor and Alonso. They're 10 times over. They're better. And I understand that. But at the same time, this Dodgers pitching staff just pitches so perfectly. Blake Treinen, dissected our team for 6 strikeouts in the final 2 innings of that elimination game in Game 6. I literally hate Blake Treinen to hell and back right now because of the performance he put on against us. He is a relief pitcher out there acting like he was the starting pitcher. And believe it or not, fun fact, in the last 3 games of the series, he had more strikeouts in those 6 at-bats because he struck out 5 of the 6 hitters, aside from Alvarez, who hit the ground out to end the game. He had 5 strikeouts. Compared to everybody else that was up, no one had those numbers. No one had 5 strikeouts or more in the last 3 games of that series. Absolutely pathetic from the Dodgers end. But it shows at the same time how good of a team this LA Dodgers team was. They beat a team that everyone thought was destined to make it. Everyone thought was destined to just go on a run and end this thing. They beat, obviously, the Brewers curse or whatever the hell that is about. Obviously, with like the Brewers, whoever move on to the World Series.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
But the thing is with this Dodgers team, man, they are the perfect team to go on a run. And in this series, it's going to come down to the pitching. It's going to come down to which team can pitch better because both teams are pretty much equal on the bats. Mookie Betts and Soto, Judge and Ohtani. Bro, this is going to be an insanely even series. I think this is going to be back and forth for a long time. The issue I have for the New York Yankees, though, is the Yankees are going to start this series out slow, I feel. I understand they had the rest. I know you're shocked.
No, I'm just saying that because we have Garrett Cole in the mound game 1.
No, still, that's the problem, though, is for you guys specifically, you guys are a team about getting hot. You can't have this stretch where you don't play for mad long. This is
I don't know. We had that against the Royals when we were able to beat them. I understand the Royals is different, but the Dodgers also had the same rest.
Game 1 to the Royals. You almost lost.
But we still won in 4. We still won.
Yeah, I understand you guys won that series, but I feel like
the Dodgers also started out slow against the Padres. They were down 2-1 in that series after they had the big rest too.
That's not what matters, though. It doesn't matter about what matchups you guys have.
But you were saying the Yankees are going to start out slow. The Dodgers can also start. Yeah, the Dodgers can also start out slow after sitting out for. They have 1 less rest day than us. They don't play this entire week either. Just like the Yankees, they're basically the same amount of rest. And the Dodgers started out slow against the Padres being down 2-1. So I'm just saying I disagree with that. Only the Yankees are going to start out slow because if the Yankees start out slow for that rest, the Dodgers will for the same thing.
I don't think so. For the simple fact, you guys are 2 different teams. You're built differently. I understand you guys
We already saw an example of the Dodgers starting out slow.
Yes, but the thing is the Dodgers started out slow against one of the best teams in baseball at the time. The Padres were probably the best team in the second half of the entire season. They were right there with the Dodgers for the best record in all of baseball the second half of the year. I understand why they started out slow. The Padres were one of the best teams in the league. You guys started out slow against the Royals. The Royals. And at the same time, though, in this series coming up, you guys are a team where that rest can really hurt you because Judge finally got on a heater. Do you really want to take a week off and have the risk of Judge finally losing the bat again? Judge needs to perform in this series.
He was 3 for 16 in this series. He was bad in the series. He was 3 for 16. He just had a couple of clutch hits.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And if that happens again, the Yankees are not winning this series. Judge needs to show up in a big way for them to win this
I agree.
series.
Judge does have a career 1,500 OPS against the Dodgers.
But now you're in the playoffs. It's a different breed, man.
I understand.
And
Okay, let me give my reasonings on why I think the Yankees will win this game in 7 series. I think they win this game. I think they win this in 7. They win the series in 7 games because when I'm looking at these two teams, each team has advantages, each team has disadvantages. For the Dodgers, I think their overall starting rotation is better than the Yankees. I think their offense is better, deeper, more consistent. For the Yankees, though, they have the best pitcher in the series. Garrett Cole is better than anyone on the Dodgers. You can't debate that. He is better than anyone. And then I genuinely believe the Yankees have a better bullpen than the Dodgers. I think the only reason it kind of looked rocky, I think it only looked rocky against the Guardians because the guys were getting overused. Nestor is going to be coming back. They already said he's probably making the postseason rotation. So that's someone who's going to be able to take the taxing off of the bullpen, so they're not going to be using the same guys every single night. When we have someone like Nestor who can eat innings and was really good in September, maybe he doesn't look good after the injury. I'm not sure, but that is someone who can eat these innings, so we don't have to overuse Clay Holmes, Luke Weaver, Tommy Cahill. But overall, I mean, Tim Hill looked amazing. Cahill hasn't allowed to run this postseason. I think Hill's allowed like 1 or 2. Luke Weaver's only allowed 3. Those 3 guys have been cooking. Clay Holmes, other than 2 really bad outings, has been overall pretty good. I think the bullpen is better than I genuinely think the Yankees have a better bullpen than the Dodgers. And then while I think the Dodgers have a deeper and better lineup, the Yankees lineup has been more clutch. I mean, think about it. Every time the Yankees are in a close game, they need the big hit. Someone's stepping up. Judge had a couple of clutch home runs. He ended game 2 with a 2-run home run. He tied the game in game 3. We end up losing the game, but he still tied it. Stanton's had game time since game leading home runs. He's been very clutch. Juan Soto's been very clutch. Gleyber Torres is consistently getting on base. The bottom of the order, which has been a big question all year, is we have been able to get production out of the bottom of the order. It's been the top guys having to carry. Volpe's turned it on. Anthony Rizzo's been very clutch. Like we're getting production throughout the order. And I think overall, yes, I think really the only reason our offense has kind of looked down is just because Judge has been bad. Judge has a 1,500 career OPS against the Dodgers. I get it's playoffs, different animal. I understand that. Will he continue to struggle? Maybe. I hope not. He has had some very clutch moments. He has had some very nice hits. So he hasn't been like completely useless. It's completely awful. But overall, I just think when it comes down to it, usually the team with the better bullpen and the more clutch offense is the team that comes away. Not every single time. The Dodgers could easily win this series. I think it's a very neck and neck series. But the Dodgers, I mean, the Yankees and Dodgers are basically almost as good as each other in the regular season. The only difference was we had Clay Holmes as a closer for most of the year, and he blew 12 saves. If we have Luke Weaver, the closer, the entire year, maybe he blows 6 or 7 saves, but that's probably another 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wins on the route. We could have hit 100 wins if we had not Clay Holmes blowing so many saves. So, yes, we only had 94 wins. Yes, it was only 3rd in the league. But at the same time, that was also with some really bad games that we should have won that we didn't just because Clay Holmes cannot be a closer. He could be a good non-reliever. He could be like a 7th inning guy. He just can't be a closer, and he clearly proved that. And then once we replaced him, Luke Weaver was absolutely cooking, and that bullpen looks so much better. And I think that's ultimately going to be why. I think we're going to have 3 starts of Garrett Cole most likely since it's a World Series. They're not going to give him his normal rest. He's probably going to start game 1. He's most likely starting game 4, so then we can have him if we need him for a game 7. You get 3 out of Garrett Cole. I trust the Yankees to be at least win 2 of those. Then we have Rodon for 2 games. I trust the Yankees to at least win one Rodon game. That means the other 2 games is going to be Clark or Luis Gil. I'm not sure who's going to be pitching. And I think we can pull out one of those games too, because they've been at least decent. They haven't been awful. They haven't gone a lot of innings
against the Dodgers.
I understand that. They haven't lasted a lot of innings, but they've been able to work through counts. They've been able to get out of jams, and they have been able to at least not have the damage so bad where the offense can come back in. And ultimately, I just think that's what it is. Yes, the Dodgers, they look amazing. They've played better teams. Yes, this, that, and the third. But at the end of the day, I'm going to trust my Yankees to get number 28. That's really what it comes down to. I think we have the team to be able to get it done. And it's a toss-up either way, though. I think I genuinely think this series is definitely going 6 or 7 games. There's no way either team is getting
down. I think mainly this one's going to come down to who wins game one, because whoever wins game one has all the leverage with the pitching
And
situation.
I think the Yankees are going to. I think the Yankees win game one.
If you look at
I think
last series,
game
with
one, Garrett
my
Cole.
Mets specifically, I guess Dave Roberts purposefully lost that game 5. He was like, if we win because of our bats being insane, that's one thing. But if we lose because the pitching's bad, that's fine. Because
Jack Flaherty got burnt off and they just left him in, hung him out to dry.
Exactly, because that's the thing, is there's no point in rotating through the bullpen when you it's like, okay, it's one game, we lose, it's a big deal. We still have games 6 and 7 both at home, by the way. They knew they were winning this series. And the thing is as a diehard Mets fan, it's so sad to watch, because you watch Dave Roberts clinically like dissect us like a surgeon in his like 70th year of being a surgeon. He looked amazing. This was just the thing, though, is it's going to come down to which one of these managers can manage the situations better. And I feel like the team that gets the chance to manage the situation better is the team that wins game one, obviously. So realistically, I think game one plays such a crucial factor in this series. And the reason I have the Dodgers in 6 is because I think they win game one. I think the Yankees start out a little bit slower because the Dodgers bats were just absolutely insane. And the one thing for Garrett,
but they also have the Dodgers bats now have a week to cool off.
Right. But at the same time, though, with Garrett Cole, is the only issue I have with Garrett Cole is once he starts to give up the hits, it's over. Because he doesn't give up the big hit, like the big one hit for a fucking grand slam or a 3-run homer. He doesn't give those up as much. He normally like lets the field go to work. In this situation, a lot of ground outs, a lot of pop flies that the Yankees have to finish off these plays and stuff for him. And in this situation, against a guy in Tommy Edman who literally turned into an insane player.
Ooh, Brandon Hagel with a hattie. I have him for the fantasy hockey team.
So for this series, I'm gonna have to lean for the Dodgers in 6 games. I think this will be a hell of a World Series, though. Obviously, I'm hoping for like a nuke, but I do think this will be a fun series. So give me the Dodgers in 6.
Moving on, it is the opening for NBA. I know Thomas isn't the biggest NBA fan. I know you pay attention enough,
about, bro?
I know,
that's the
but
move that made LeBron
I'm not the biggest NBA fan either, but I do know enough. I do pay attention to it a lot. Game 1 of the season is currently going on as the Boston Celtics are currently dominating the New York Knicks. They're up 80-55. Really, the only people for the Knicks that have shown up are Brunson, Cat, and Miles McBride. And then I guess Josh Hart is 8, and then everyone else on the team is 2 or less. Miles Bridges and OG Anunoby are combined 1 for 9 with 2 points.
I like the Cat trade, don't get me wrong, but DiVincenzo was this bench. DiVincenzo was this bench, bro.
Miles McBride's been cooking off the bench. He's 5 for 5 right now, 14 points.
Only him. They have nobody else, man.
I still think the Knicks won that trade, though, because I think we
definitely won the trade. I'm not questioning that. I don't know how far we're going to be.
The Celtics starting 5's cooking. Tatum has 25, 8 assists, 4 rebounds. Horford has 6 points, whatever. Then Holiday has 10 points. Derek White has 14. Jaylen Brown has 15. Everyone on the starting 5 is shooting at least 50%, except for Jaylen Brown, who's 5 for 11. So pretty close. And he's shooting 50% from 3. So it's fine. The Celtics are looking just as dominant as they were last year. Obviously just game 1, so not going to get ahead of myself. But earlier on the radio, when we were talking about the NBA, I decided we'll just do our Western and Eastern Conference Finals predictions and Finals predictions. We don't really need to go through. Yeah, preseason predictions. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, that's fair. That's real.
Yeah, I'm not going to have us go through who we think is going to be 1 through 8. That's just going to be too much. For me, I have the Celtics and the Knicks actually meeting in the conference finals. I have the Celtics winning. I'm a Celtics fan. They won the championship last year. They retained everyone. They look to run it back with the same squad. They look to be just as good. Yeah. And then in the the Western Conference, I have the Oklahoma City Thunder versus the Dallas Mavericks, a repeat of the semifinals of last year. I do think it is a different outcome, as I think the Thunder do take care of this. In the offseason, they replaced Josh Giddey with Alex Caruso. Huge upgrade. So Josh Giddey's objectively bad, and Alex Caruso might be the best bench piece on the team. And then you get, in the league, he might be the best bench piece in the league. He might be one of the best 3-and-D guys in the league. And then you go get Isaiah Hartenstein to fill out that big center role because Chet's more of like a 4 anyways.
Right.
Kind of like, yeah, he's not the big body guy. He's a good defender, but
he's tall, but he's just scrawny.
And he can block well, but yeah, he's very scrawny. So now you have that big body Isaiah Hartenstein who can do things that centers do: rebound, not be better in the post, stuff like that. And I think ultimately he is injured right now, but it's only like a 1-month thing. I think he comes back, and I think that team is gonna look really good. I mean, Shea cemented himself as an MVP candidate. I think he continues to be just that good. And then Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren, both as second-year guys, look to take another step, and I think both of them do. And that 3-headed monster. And then also they still have so many assets at the trade deadline, wherever holes they find, they can fill them like that and not lose any sleep over it because they have so many young players and picks and stuff like that they can go and trade out multiple first. So they can overpay for people and still have plenty of assets afterwards. So I really like that OKC team. And then Dallas, white boy Doncic and the playoffs cooks. I think Derek Lively takes a step. I think Klay Thompson fits perfectly in that catch and shoot role because he doesn't have to handle the ball at all. It's going to be Doncic and Kyrie driving in, kicking out to him. I think because he still was, yes, he had that really bad, he was 0 for 10 in the elimination game, the funny meme, but he was still one of the best 3-point shooters in the league last year. So I think he fits them perfectly. The defense the perimeter defense worries me a little bit, but their post defense, which is much more important, I think is going to be really good with like Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford. And I can't think of the other center. They have a 3-headed monster there, and I just can't think of the third guy. But I do have OKC coming out on top. And then I have Boston as repeat champions against OKC because I'm a Celtics fan. Sue me.
Yeah, so we're going to start in the East just like you did. I think that tonight's game will also be a rematch of the finals, semifinals, whatever you want to call it. The
Western or Eastern Conference Finals, yes.
Yeah, I think that the Celtics take on the Knicks. I think that the Knicks really last year they would have made it if they were healthy. The only issue is we just got unhealthy at the worst possible time. We bring in Karl-Anthony Towns this year. I think that starting 5 got a lot better. If the bench can really pick up for some of the slack, as obviously you see tonight, they haven't played too great outside of McBride. I do think that they'll eventually get it together. I mean, we are talking about the defending champs here to start the season. They're obviously coming out trying to win on their ring ceremony night, so it makes a lot of sense. Obviously, also with Karl-Anthony Towns, he's looked great to start the game from everything that I've seen. So realistically, I think we'll be fine. I think we'll have a good year. I think we'll make it to the conference finals, but I think that's as far as it goes. I think the Celtics will win this one in 6. I think that we're a very good team. We're built to beat some of the teams in the Eastern Conference. The Celtics are just not one of those teams. Obviously, retaining everybody last year is a very big thing for them. I think that they get the job done. And the only real issue I have on the opposite side for the Celtics is if they can get as much out of the bench that they did last year, which I think they can do a lot. I don't think that they'll get as much out of them as they did in years, like in the last year specifically, but I think you get enough out of the bench to win this series in 6 games. So give me the Celtics coming out of the East. And then the West, I'm going to have to say it, my semifinals of the West, so like the second round of the playoffs, to get you to understand before you freak out when I say it's Nuggets versus Thunder. I think that the Nuggets are one of those teams last year where you're not going to be able to hold them down for too long. Yeah, they lost last year, I understand, but the Timberwolves are specifically built to beat them, and they got a lucky draw by playing the Nuggets in the playoffs. I don't think that happens this year. I think the Nuggets take on Doncic and the Mavericks. The Mavericks lose that series, and then I think the Timberwolves probably go ahead and take on
you said the Nuggets were facing the Thunder, then you said they were facing the Mavericks.
No, I'm saying for the second round of the playoffs. Nuggets play Mavericks, and then Nuggets Thunder in the conference finals.
Oh, okay. No, well, you said originally.
Yeah,
originally
you said the semifinals of the Western Conference to make you understand who I have in the Final Four, in the West. So it makes more sense because I do think that the Timberwolves and the Mavericks are 2 teams that also could make it to the conference finals. I think they're both very, very good teams. It's just I don't think that you're going to hold Jokic down for this long. I think that even last year was shocking to see him go out as early as they did. I think this time around they get it done. They're going to move on.
What check by fucking Krebs.
Yeah, I saw that. But I do think that the Nuggets win this series. I'm going to say 7 games. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to match up very well against Jamal Murray. I think he'll cook him for most of the series. I think it's all going to come down to the big guys up front. And I understand you got to move Chet Holmgren to the 4, But at the same time, I don't think they're going to do that. And Jokic is just going to dominate this series if that's the case. Jokic is definitely a big power guy. He's going to win this series for the Nuggets. So give me the Nuggets to advance to the almost just said the Stanley Cup Finals, the NBA Finals. So Nuggets versus Celtics, and I'm going to go with I'm going to go with the Denver Nuggets, baby. I think the Nuggets get the job done. I think they win this one in 7. I think that the Celtics are a very good team. Obviously, winning the whole thing last year, they are very, very good. They did retain everybody, but at the same time, you're going up against Nikola Jokic. He is a different breed, and I feel like this is just going to come down to which team's starting 5 is better. And if Al Horford's a starting 5 on the Celtics, I don't think that he's better than Michael Porter.
Page boy, Pagey with the fucking slapper. What?
But I do think that this is one that's going to be very fun. I'm excited for the NBA season. I got a lot more.
Al Horford's not going to be a starter. Or Porzingis is just injured right now. He's coming back in like maybe a month or 2.
Right.
But him not being able to be healthy, I get. Yeah, Horford could be starting because Kristaps is made of glass.
Right.
Pingus.
So give me the Denver Nuggets to win the NBA Finals before the season starts.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, that's all I really want to talk about for the NBA. I just want to get a quick finals predictions before the season started, so we have at least a prediction to go off of. We'll probably every week just update on games and who's playing well and stuff like that. But yeah, right now we're through game 1, so not really
the
too much
Sabres
to talk about.
Lose to the Blue Jackets and then beat the Stars.
Yeah, moving on, though, to the Buffalo Sabres, our last segment of the day, as we will just hold off on college football till Saturday or till Friday's episode.
Told you Georgia was beating Texas, by the way.
Shut up.
Out there.
I don't care. College football, I just kind of throw darts. Just like, throw the darts at a dartboard and just hopefully it sticks. I don't know.
Hopefully it's better than Carson Beck's game.
Yeah. Carson Beck is awful. But with the Sabres, they are cooking the Dallas Stars 3-0. It makes no sense. We lose to Columbus 6-4, and then we go against Dallas for 3-0. Knock on wood, there's 15 minutes left. We would be the team to choke that. This Sabres team, we have 2 very, very good lines. And
4-0. No, I'm kidding.
And 2 kind of shit lines, for being honest. Our first line, we have a top 10 line in hockey. Our Tage Thompson, JJ Peterka, and Alex Tuch is a top 10 line in hockey.
Peterka is currently the weak link on that line. Like around the league, everyone thinks that Peterka is not that great. Obviously, as Sabres fans, they think we're just biased about Peterka. But I think this will be the season where people finally see Peterka as a first line winger.
I think they've scored a goal. This line scored a goal in every single game except for 1. I think game 1 was the only. Since game 1, this line has scored at least 1 goal a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've actually been they've just been
games.
Yeah, they've just been cooking, and it's great to see. This third line's been absolutely insane. Ryan McLeod, Jason Zucker, and Jordan Greenway. Masterclass by Kevin Adams. We needed a better third line. We needed to rebuild that bottom 6. And say what you want about Kevin Adams for not making the big move. He has done a great job with that third line. It was a weak link last year, especially after we traded Casey Middlestat, when it was like we were having Peyton Krebs and kind of Jeff Skinner and Jordan Greenway. And we just kind of Zach Benson, and we were just kind of rotating people around. Peterka was there for some time. It just was a whole mess. We didn't really have, so no one could really build chemistry. This year we go out and we give Zucker the $5 million. He's played well. We go and trade for Ryan McLeod, who has never had more than like 30 points or whatever, but he was a third liner for Edmonton. Like, he wasn't on their power play at all, but he's a speed guy with great defense, and he has 4 goals on the year, or 3 goals or whatever. I think it's 4. He has been absolutely brilliant. And then Jordan Greenway is looking awesome. I mean, this is like the perfect Lindy Ruff line. Speed, hard hitting, can score a couple of goals. Like, that's exactly what you want out of your third line. You want him to be able to play some defense, hit hard,
a goal scorer, you have a playmaker, and you have a grinder.
And they're all fast. They all can play defense. And if you need some production, they can get you some goals. Last year, our bottom 6 was basically like, just don't allow any goals, because the chances of them scoring goals was very low.
Yeah.
Our fourth line hasn't really done much. I mean, I don't expect much out of the fourth line. Hopefully, Audrey Kubel comes back soon. I think he probably would be the best guy, or the best winger. I think if you go, Obey Kubel. My bad. You go Krebs, Obey Kubel, and then Malenstein or Lafferty. I think you go Malenstein right now, but you kind of rotate that in.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly. Lafferty, not so much. You kind of rotate that in. I think that could be a formidable fourth line. The big question is, though, the second line. we were kind of having this debate earlier. I think what the Sabres need to do is if maybe someone really good becomes available, like not like superstar, but a good player, very good second lineman becomes available. Quinn plus. We trade away Jack Quinn plus. And then we get that second line center, and then we move Cousins to the winger, and then we move Benson to the right winger. Personally, that's what I would want to see. You let Benson develop because, I mean, and maybe you just trade Cousins to go and get the second line center, or you trade Quinn. I think either one. I just think it'll be easier to move Quinn because of Cousins' contract. I just don't. I think Quinn has higher value, so I think you can get a better player. And either one, you trade one of them to get a second C, and then you have your wingers filled out. And I think then our lines are set. The other thing we need to do is we need to get a better pair for Rasmus Dahlin. Henry Jokiharju and Mattias Samuelsson are not it. I mean, it's pretty obvious they're bad. And
Yeah.
do you really want to throw Connor Clifton, Ryan Johnson, or Jacob Bryson on there? No. But if we can go and get trade, we can't really trade Samuelsson right now because of that contract. But if we can go and trade Henry Jokiharju, maybe like an Anton Sahlberg and like a second to go and get someone pretty good. And then it's someone where we don't have to eat salary, so we don't have to give up as much. Like we kind of do that package, something like that, and go and get a defensive defenseman to go and play with Dahlin, a better defensive defenseman than what we have. And then we have that line set. Power and Byram, it's been great. And then our third, Clifton's looked good. And then what a save by UPL.
Oh my gosh.
Clifton's looked good. And then you can put Ryan Johnson. I really like Jacob Bryson. I would like him on that third pairing instead of a Samuelsson or a Johnson, but you can kind of rotate people in. You got a lot of bodies there to move in. And then UPL has been looking better these last two games. I think you just ride him if he continues to play this well. And then Devin Levi had two pretty decent games and one god-awful game, so his numbers look a lot worse than they should be. But overall, I think our goalie tandem will pick it up, and hopefully we can make a run at the playoffs. I mean, a win here gets us to 7 points, not too far out. I mean, it's pretty early. It's just a big
more
win here
games than anyone in the division.
Yeah, against a good team like Dallas to get a big win here to kind of put us back on track-ish to be able to make a run is pretty nice. Yeah, we up 3-0 with 11:48 left at home, so I don't think we choked this, but back on wood. Sorry,
Yeah.
I had a lot to get off my chest. What do you got anything you want to say before we end this?
Yeah, I really do think that this Buffalo Sabres team will pick it up as the season continues. Obviously, a head coaching change in the offseason with Lindy Ruff. I do think that that's going to take a little bit of time to marinate within the locker room. Obviously, losing your head coach is a very big thing in hockey, as it is in any sport. But I do think that this is a good Buffalo Sabres team. Like you mentioned, I think our biggest weakness right now is we need one more big guy on defense, and then we need a second-line center. And I think the perfect way to really, I guess, if we miss the playoffs this year, don't rule
Kevin
out.
Adams is fired.
I don't think Kevin Adams necessarily gets fired, but I think
He should be. If we don't make the playoffs, he should be fired.
I think this is the offseason the Buffalo Sabres would have to make a move. And I understand
Last offseason was this offseason to make the move. If we don't make the playoffs, Kevin Adams, bye. Bye. There is not unless half of our team gets injured, there is not a world, at least in my mind, where we miss the playoffs. Kevin Adams is the GM next year, and I'm happy at all.
No, I'm not saying Kevin Adams necessarily is the GM. I just think that this is the offseason where the Buffalo Sabres would make a move. And I would not be surprised if we go out and we get a Rasmus Anderson from the Calgary in exchange for a Dylan Cousins and like a second, maybe something like that. Obviously, we've seen in the past with the willingness to trade away these picks. We literally traded a second-round pick to the Capitals last year for Beck Malestein, knowing full well he would be a healthy scratch because of Aubé-Kubel. We knew full well he was not going to be crap for us unless we really needed him to be. So realistically, the situation.
Well, he might start. I think he starts over Lafferty.
Still, you get a fourth line guy for a second-round pick.
So, to be fair, we got that second-round pick by trading back 3 spots in the draft and still probably getting our guy.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, though, we see the willingness to trade those picks. I feel like this is another situation. We don't need a guy in the prospect pool anymore. We got the prospects. We have them all. We're fine. We need to finally get that second-line center and that defensive player. And I think Rasmus Anderson would be a perfect fit for Buffalo. He's finally a right-shot defenseman that the Sabres could really put to use. $4.5 million on his contract.
Thompson almost had another.
Makes just $300,000 more than Matthias Samuelson. Believe it or not, he does just make $300,000.
I think
Samuelson.
I think next year we might be in the package of maybe trading to Calgary, trading to a team that's going to suck, who's just willing to take on cap, and we just trade away. We give up like a second and Samuelson for like a fourth, just a salary dump trade.
I don't think we even get a fourth back if we get rid of Samuelson. I'm not going to lie, but
do whatever we need to do by dumping him without actually cutting him, because we can't afford to take on that dead cap with all the extensions we're going to have coming up.
Right. But the one thing I really want to touch on, though, is for this Buffalo Sabres team, I think that we're a young team on the up-and-coming moves. If this isn't the year that we make the playoffs, I feel like next year would be the perfect time for us to finally emerge as a team. And
if this isn't the year we make the playoffs, you're going to – if this isn't the year we make the playoffs, I might test how well my flying ability is off KeyBank Center.
Oh, geez. I'm not going to lie to you. I think this is going to be another year that's like that. We have a very stacked Eastern Conference. It's going to be very difficult, especially with the Metropolitan being a lot better than people expected. Obviously, the Penguins have looked nice to start the season. Another team that's looked very good on top of that has been the Capitals. Even the Flyers don't look too bad. The Columbus Blue Jackets have been –
definitely shouldn't have taken the under in this game, but whatever.
Okay. So there's been a lot of situations here for these teams, but I think the Sabres will have a solid year. Excited to see how it goes. And
Jaylen Brown, who?
It's basically.
Alex? Sorry. I was just saying Jaylen Brown, who, because Jason Tatum is about to have a 30-point double-double. He's 32-9 right now on 16 shots. He is absolutely cooking right now. Jalen Brown only has 18. So Brunson has 20. Okay, so because I made two bets for tonight, and one of them I took the under for this game. Not looking too great.
Yeah, no, probably not.
Yeah, so the one bet, it was Celtics money line, Tatum to get 4+ assists, Brunson to get 6+, and he's only at 2, so I doubt that happens. Then the under 223.5 and Celtics money line 5 just to win 33. But then my big bet, it's a no sweat, so if it doesn't hit, whatever. Celtics money line, Tatum and Brunson to both score 20 points, and then I have Lakers money line and LeBron and AD all to score 20. That's 10 to win 80. But it's a no sweat, so I get my $10 back if it doesn't hit, and I'll just throw it on Thursday Night Football.
Real.
But I guess that's my gambling degeneracy for the day. Are we done for the episode, I think?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's all we have for you guys today. We had to cut out college football just for time reasons. We'll get into it on Friday. If you guys like these videos, please like, subscribe, share. Please get the word out as we do try to grow. We are trying to grow this follower base, trying to grow this platform. But yeah, that's really all we have. I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day, great rest of your night. It was nice talking to y'all. Peace.